Mr. Peter Kuznick is a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University. He's now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Professor, it's good to have you with us, and thank you very much for your time. Contradictions continue. We saw what happened to Pete Hegseth at the hearings, where he was really questioned hard about the war and the cost of the war, and he did not have any conclusive answer. We heard what Trump said yesterday, that the war has been terminated. Outsiders say the president was exaggerating, and I'm sure you are with the outsiders on that. But what do you make of the Congress coming into the fray this time? Why now?
Congress is required to do so by law. You know, Trump brags about the blockade and the American Navy acting like pirates, but a blockade is an act of war. So if we're blockading the Gulf, then we're still at war. So his claim that he doesn't have to abide by the War Powers Act, which forces the U.S. to withdraw troops after 60 days unless it gets congressional approval, is obviously nonsense. But Hegseth's performance, trying to convince President Trump how tough he is, how he can stand up to the Congress people, again, is counterproductive, right? This is a war that the U.S. did by choice, based upon lies. It's illegal, it's immoral, and it's unpopular. Barely 25% of the American people support this war. So Trump is in a very difficult position because he faces this midterm that's looming, in which his party is trying to cheat now by redrawing the maps, but they're still going to get their heads handed to them come November.
Professor, why did the Department of War or the Department of Defense seek some money or some cost to fund the war? What was the logic behind Pete Hegseth's hearing? I just want to understand.
Well, he's looking for a defense budget, quote unquote defense, a military budget of $1.5 trillion. And on top of that, has asked for $200 billion in addition to fund the war. When they testified before the Congress this week, they said it had cost only $25 billion so far. We know that that's a half to a third of what the actual costs are. So this is enormously expensive. But the U.S. is running out of munitions. The U.S. is running out of interceptors. The Israelis are running out of interceptors, which has made all those Gulf states and U.S. bases very vulnerable. But the kind of ramp up in quote unquote defense production that the Trump regime is talking about is going to take years. And none of those defense contractors want to start investing in this until Congress actually authorizes a big military budget. But Congress doesn't want to do that. What Trump has said is he's got to cut social programs, the lunch programs, health benefits, housing benefits, in order to fund this vast military machine. The U.S. already spends 4 times more than China does, 3 times more than Russia does on its military. The U.S. spends more than the next 12 largest defense budgets in the world. So the U.S., has this vast military. As we see in Iran, it's competent to blow things up, but it can't win wars. The U.S. hasn't won a real war since World War II. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and now in Iran. Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, said the U.S. is humiliated, that Trump is humiliated in Iran. And how did Trump respond? He attacks Merz and now said we're going to withdraw 5,000 troops from Germany. But Trump is really challenging or attacking almost all of his former allies of the United States. And he berates them for not coming to the U.S. help in Iran, but they know it's illegal. They know this is not a just war or a smart war. And so they refuse to do so.
All right, Professor, I wanted to ask my final question, but we are out of time for that. But thank you very much for talking to us today.
My pleasure, anytime.